Good morning, Dan and Amy. We are marking the Muellerversary. Is that what they're calling it?
Yes, it's the 1-year Mueller anniversary of the Mueller investigation. So, of course, it's the Muellerversary. What are you doing?
The traditional gift for the 1-year anniversary is paper, right? So the question, I guess, is should Trump get Mueller a pink slip?
I see what you did there.
You see?
You're funny.
I'm no Hollywood screenwriter. That's why we got one to offer witticisms much superior to mine. He's Andrew Klavan. He's also the author of the book, The Great Good Thing, A Secular Jew Comes to Faith in Christ, and he joins us again. Andrew, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I thought it was funny.
Thank you very much. And that is a Hollywood screen. He wrote True Crime. Yeah, how about that? So what do you think about the Mueller investigation 1 year in? How's it going?
Well, first of all, I said when they appointed Mueller that I thought it was one of the biggest mistakes ever, that they should never have allowed this to happen. I have real problems with the whole special counsel law to begin with. But look, the New York Times, in one of its most shameful episodes, published a piece this morning basically trying to excuse the fact that the FBI and CIA planted spies within the Trump campaign. And they ran this story as if this somehow was going to protect and indemnify Comey and the FBI and the CIA against the Inspector General's report that's coming out to talk about this investigation. You know, I really feel that very slowly Donald Trump has been completely vindicated in this, that this was a witch hunt, that this was what one of the FBI agents called an insurance policy against what they expected was the wildly unlikely event that Donald Trump got elected. I think this is a political hit, and I really do think that they have made Trump could not make himself look as good as they have made him look. I think that if you have not got evidence first, not just that the Russians are always trying to affect our elections, and we are always trying to affect theirs. So I'm not comparing Russia to the U.S. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying this is kind of spycraft. This is what we all do to each other. If you can't prove first that the Russians actually affected the election, and I see absolutely no evidence of this. It sounds like a bunch of, Rocky the Squirrel, Boris Badenoff spies putting up Facebook posts. If you can't prove that they actually did something, then I don't even see why there's a crime to begin with, And if all you can prove is that people talked to some Russian or somebody knew a Russian or somebody once read, From Russia with Love, I don't understand how you launch a major, major, major investigation, including spies within a campaign,
right,
of a political campaign. I mean, this is real tin pot dictator stuff. And I really do believe that what this should be called now is Obamagate. Obama ran the federal government like a Chicago-style machine. No offense, Chicago, but that's what he was doing. And I think it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, do you think President Obama ordered the spy to infiltrate Donald Trump's campaign?
Well, I certainly think he knew what was going on. There's some of the struck-and-page emails. These two FBI lovers who were emailing back and texting back and forth about how much they hated Trump. Somebody said, the White House is in charge of some of this, that the White House wants to, be in control of some of this. I don't know. I don't think nobody outside of the investigators know at this point, how much the White House knew, but they certainly knew it was going on. They certainly must have known that this was happening. And, when you compare it to the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email, and it was the same group of people who were doing both things. They were investigating Hillary Clinton's use of email, a private email server when she was Secretary of State. They were investigating that. They were giving immunity to everybody they met. They were letting people pretend they were her lawyers so that they had lawyer-client privilege. They didn't put her under oath when they were questioning her. James Comey exonerated her, which wasn't even his job. His job was just to pass on the information to the Justice Department, but he himself said the Justice Department was so compromised that he didn't trust them. So he exonerates her on television, and then they plant spies in the Trump campaign. Look, if this wasn't political shenanigans, if this wasn't overstepping by a Justice Department that felt so protected by the Obama administration and so protected by the fact that they were certain Hillary Clinton would win, I don't know what else to call it. I do not understand how they can justify the disparity between the way they let Clinton's obviously illegal activity slide and the way they burrowed in to a political campaign to prove something that may not even have had an underlying effect. There may not even have been an underlying crime there at all. I think Donald Trump, people keep on the left and the media keep teasing Trump about his obsession with this. I don't blame him for being obsessed with it. I mean, if the FBI were coming after me for something I didn't do, I'd be pretty obsessed with it too.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just think it really has been shameful.
I want to have you arbitrate something that's tangentially related here. Michael Avenatti, I don't know if you've seen him. He's only been on the cable news channels 147 times in the last 10 weeks.
I don't think he's getting enough airtime.
He's and he's also facing a disbarment investigation. So that's Michael Avenatti. You got Michael Cohen, who we're learning with each passing day, who he was leveraging his relationship with Trump to get money from. And then you got Eric Schneiderman, who's not only some sort of sexual deviant, he also apparently
what else?
May have been leveraging the state attorney general's office to get PR contracts for his ex-wife. Could you adjudicate, Andrew Klavan, who is the biggest scumbag lawyer of the three?
I think they ought to start a firm together.
Yeah, right.
So we all know where to find them. These guys really are, they're not just bad guys. It's the people who protect them and hire them, including Trump. I mean, I don't know why. Well, I do know why Trump is associating with this sort of make-believe thug like Cohen, which is what he is. You live. Look, I guess the thing is, if you live a bad life, if you live a life where you're cheating on people and you're sleeping with people you shouldn't sleep with, you got to have these guys to protect you. From the press. And what's interesting about Cohen is what an incompetent he was.
Remarkable.
He sold access to Trump. He never gave anybody access to Trump. He was trying to keep these, this porn star silent. Now she's on television. I was actually in Oregon on vacation last week. I was driving by a motel, and there was a big sign that said, Stormy Daniels will be stripping here next week.
Oh, yeah. She's coming to Chicago, too, June 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Sure. Amy's got that on her calendar, yeah.
Well, it's become quite a circus.
Well,
but yesterday
it is sad that these are the people who consider themselves our betters, and they consider themselves America's elite.
Well, also, one other thing on this topic, though, especially with Cohen, he is exactly as you just described him, and yet the Fortune 500 CEOs are trying to buy him off because they're rent seekers. They want to buy everybody off that has any relationship whatsoever with the halls of power. So they're complicit, too. Now, of course, they're, distancing themselves from him. It was a big mistake, and they're going to bring Hillary in for brown bag lunch and give her $250,000 to make it all better, or whatever they're going to do. But it says something about corporate culture and the nexus between big government and big business.
And it's also kind of interesting that you can basically trace how Hillary Clinton sold influence through the Clinton Foundation and actually did favors for people, both in New York when she was a senator and when she was Secretary of State. You can trace the money. Bill Clinton was getting $500,000 for speeches in Moscow, while the Russians were trying to negotiate our taking over some of our uranium supplies. And that stuff was going on like in plain sight. But it's interesting that Michael Cohen can't show anything for his labors. It would be absolutely bizarre if it turned out that Trump actually has more integrity as a politician than the Clintons did, because Trump has behaved certainly has behaved like a New York City real estate developer, which is kind of one of the lower forms of life, and yet it looks like he's actually been more honest as president than Hillary Clinton ever was as anything. And I just think that that's kind of interesting. It really is our skewed perceptions that are created by the media. And if I can just add one other thing,
yes.
This week the media disgraced itself at a level I can't remember ever seeing, between their coverage of Israel fighting Hamas, which made it look as if Israel were somehow to blame for this invasion of their territory. That line that where Donald Trump yesterday called the gangsters who come out of Mexico, that MS-13, he called them animals, and the New York Times said that he had called all immigrants animals.
Yeah, well, ABC did it too, MSNBC. I mean, it was awful. That was
this is
irresponsible.
They have really become, in their rage against Trump, they've become exactly what Trump says they are.
So yesterday, the president's financial disclosures were released. I mean, it's not as comprehensive as a tax return, but it shows that he paid Michael Cohen 6 figures. It doesn't say exactly for what, but do you think anybody will even care? I mean, does everyone just assume that he paid off the porn star?
I think Trump is indemnified by the fact that he's never pretended to be anything but what he was. He is a guy who wrote a book bragging about the fact that he slept with other men's wives, bragging about it. He is a billionaire playboy. I mean, I keep joking that if he hadn't slept with Stormy Daniels, he'd have been called before the Billionaire Playboy Association, and they'd have asked him why not. I mean, this is who he has always been. We knew it when we voted for him. It is not a surprise. And the only thing that I can say, and I really feel this is a kind of confusing fact. I think the guy has been a great president so far. I think he is not a good person. I would not allow him to be alone in a room with my daughter. But he has been a terrific president, and I think that that's something we're all going to have to think about. What are the ramifications of having a guy who has lived the life that he lives, who has said some of the things that he said, and yet it seems to be doing a terrific job. I mean, his courage in this Israel thing of moving the embassy, keeping the promise that Clinton, Bush, and Obama also made. His cutting taxes, his dialing back regulations, his withstanding this onslaught of a storm of a dishonest media trying to bring him down. It's been remarkable. It's been remarkable to watch. And yet at the same time, when I hear the things that he did and did to his wife and did in the way he treated women, I can't just shrug that off. I mean, I think that is part of who he is as well. We in the arts know that many bad people do great things. Many of the greatest art ever created was created by people I would not want to sit and have a drink with. And I think this is true of our politics too. And maybe the only difference between a guy like Trump and guys like the Clintons and the Kennedys is that Trump has been very open about who he is.
He is Andrew Klavan, who's a good guy and a great artist. He is a screenwriter and also the author of the book, The Great Good Thing, A Secular Jew Comes to Faith in Christ. Andrew, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
And he